Good morning. Today is podcast taping day. I tape on the same day every week, so I need to get ready, go over my notes, get in the car and go because I have to be there by a certain time. I feel like the hardest thing is waiting until Tuesday to release each episode because I'd be so excited.
Take care of Mrs. Sandra Fun. I pray you to give her power everything that she needs. Yes, everything that she needs to complete this workout in his dream.
Babe, when are you coming home? Are you going to take a plane and go to Tennessee?
Yeah, come to Tennessee,
Okay, so that was super weird because I went from not being dressed to being fully dressed. Oh, I got my purse, my little thing, my notes. I'm about to go shoot this podcast. Look at my little fishies. I gotta go stop and get them something today, but that's pretty much what we're doing. Let's go. Okay. All right. Let me put y'all here. Okay. We are going to go to the Hive. I'm so excited to film today. I feel like I have a lot of great things to talk about. I've done the planning, everything, so I'm super excited. One of the things that has tripped me up this week is I think I have a vision of how I want my podcast to look, and I feel like we're in the beginnings right now, so financially it's not smart to put a lot of money into the aesthetic right now, even though I know it looks great, but I feel like it's something that the enemy's trying to do in my mind, so I cast it down. Yep. I feel like I'm doing my very best. I feel like I'm pouring into it exactly what God wants me to pour into it right now, and I'm not going to allow myself to get down about that. As much as we become healed from comparison, we still have to remind ourselves, and we still have to cut the seeds, cut those seeds that are trying to be planted. Comparison is a thief. How can I focus on what good is happening in my current life, in my current podcast, if I'm always looking at what other people are doing and how nice it looks and how nice whatever? It's not good. It's not good. Story of my life, every time I'm driving, I'm so aggressive. My stuff be flying all over the car. But you gotta be aggressive in Houston because the thing about it is these people in Houston drive crazy. I just got to the studio. Good morning. I don't know because I booked last minute. Oh, okay. Hello. Good. Yeah. You know, he's my favorite engineer.
Y'all have a good taping.
Thank you.
And we got to talk soon here about what you had sent me about the email and marketing stuff, so we'll have a conversation about that too. So.
Okay, perfect. You too. I'll be getting lost in this place. Let's go into our space.
But that's the only thing I can think of is, hey, good morning.
Good morning.
That's the only thing I can think of is,
It's a long walk, you know what I'm saying? Hey. See y'all on set.
I'm not forsaken, ever alone. The God of heaven
Welcome back to Empowered to Glow podcast. My name is Mercedes Fall, and I am so excited for this week's podcast. Thank you guys for being here, and I encourage you to sit down somewhere, get in your car, listen, put your earphones in, whatever. This is going to be like your 30 minutes of time. Okay, maybe more than 30 minutes. We'll see. But thank you for being here. I'm so excited, and let's get started. So last week we did our first initial launch talking about worth, and it was so amazing. I got such amazing feedback, and I'm just getting tongue-tied talking about it, but I got such amazing feedback, and I want to know more about what you guys pulled from it and what you guys really reflected on after it, because this is not just an opportunity for me to talk to y'all, but it's an opportunity for you all to talk to me and DM us, tell us what you want us to talk about, DM us and tell us about how the episodes affect you. And so last week was amazing, and I'm so excited about what is to come. So in the light of that, I wanted to go over some DMs that we got. And I put out a message the other day letting everybody know to DM us, let us know what you thought about the podcast, and we would share it for the next episode. So I've got my DMs right here, and I've got maybe 5 of them, and I'm only going to do a couple. So let's go here and see. And my voice is still struggling this week. Bear with me. This is the last week I'm dealing with this, okay? Mark my words. This person says, "Hi, Mercedes. My name is... Everything you said in this week's episode hit home. I currently deal with the fear of telling my family that I'm struggling because I feel like they will judge me instead of help me. I don't feel like I have a safe space." And the person goes on and on to talk about what they're kind of dealing with in their journey. And I don't want to share that. But what I will say is publicly that if you cannot find a safe space with your family, I feel like it is a really important thing to find a safe space, period. I feel like the friction that you're dealing with your family is quite frankly a distraction, because I think that the enemy wants you not to go forward in getting the help that you are getting. So look outside of your family. Your family is not the only people that you can talk to and express yourself to. And so don't let that be a distraction. Yes, it is something that you need to revisit, but in your moment of pain and suffering right now, you just need to talk to somebody. Thank you so much for your DM. Let's go to the next one. This one says, "I'm having a hard time loving myself. I know God made me beautiful." Thank you for DMing me that, because I was just talking to the engineer about when we just got started, I was trying to fix my shirt and everything. And I was just so nervous. And so thank you for DMing me that. Having a hard time loving myself. I know that God made me beautiful. I feel like that a huge part in the process of loving yourself is doing it anyway and trust, right? Because a lot of times it takes our emotions and our feeling and our mindset some time to catch up with reality. So the reality is that God did make you beautiful, and the reality is that you are beautiful. But it might take some time for your emotions and your mindset to catch up with that. So the only thing that I can tell you today, which is what I'm doing, is doing it anyway. Okay, wake up and decide that you're beautiful and live your life like that, no matter how you feel. Don't allow those seeds, those negative seeds, to plant in your mind, because I feel like they will try to. The moment that you start feeling that way, say, "I'm doing it anyway. I'm not letting this get me down. I'm going to continue on my day. I am beautiful." The best part about what you text me and said was, "I know God made me beautiful." That lets me know that you know that the emotions and the thought process that you are dealing with right now are not normal. So give yourself grace. Your emotions are going to take time to catch up, which is why we can't think through our emotions. We can't stay in our emotions. We have to think logically, but give yourself grace. You are beautiful. You know God made you beautiful. And having a hard time loving yourself, it's a journey, okay? I have a hard time loving myself every day. And I'm sure the best of them do. So give yourself grace, but do it anyway, okay? Let's go to another one. I love this one. I watched your segment last episode with my kids. I was shocked at how much they actually struggle in school. So, I love this because I didn't think that little piece of the last episode would actually get so much commentary. I had a few people actually reach out to me and say the same thing via text, like family members. I think that there is a disconnect between what kids are actually going through and what the adults know that they're going through. And so if you can watch the last segment, just that little segment with your kid, and just talk to them about what they're struggling with in school, I think you would be amazed at the level of conversation that you would get from them. Some of them might say nothing. And it's just an opportunity for them to reassure you, an opportunity for you to reassure them that you love them and that you're concerned about them. And some of them might have something to say. So I would say, as a person that has been there, I would say just listen. Don't try to fix it right off the bat, because a lot of times when you try to fix things so quickly, it gives them anxiety of okay, if my parent goes up to the school and tries to fix this, I'm going to be bullied or whatever. Don't try to fix it. Ask them what they feel like a proper solution would be, and then proceed as a parent, right? But if you can listen to that last segment with your child, I would encourage that you do. So with that being said, we love getting DMs, and we would never share what your name is or anything. But if you feel like that you want to send us a DM and you feel like it would help somebody, please send us a DM. Let us know that you don't mind sharing. I'm going to keep this up because I think this is good. So today I wanted to kind of go into a discussion. So I was looking at my plan of what the podcast was going to be in this week's discussion. When I was writing my notes down and everything, it dealt with me. So this week we're going to be talking about the courage to start over. So sometimes when I'm planning these podcasts, I don't know why God has me in certain spaces. Why are we talking about the courage to start over? I could talk about that in my life all day, but sometimes I'll be asking God, okay, it starts with us. We started talking about worth, but why do you have us in the courage to start over? That's weird. And so I was asking him, okay, why do we need courage to start over? And he started reminding me of my life and what I've passed through and why starting over has been such a huge deal in my life. And I believe that it is probably a huge deal in a lot of your lives. And so my question to you today, and I want you to put this in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of that, just send us a DM. But why do you feel like we need courage to start over? So I kind of wanted to start off with a little bit of a story or a little bit of an about me so that you can kind of know what I mean by the courage to start over. Me being the person that I am, I love to start a new business. I love an adventure. I love trying new things out. I love treading the waters. I'm just that type of person. And so a lot of times in my life, I veered off of the plan of God, and I veered off of what I knew God was wanting me to do in that moment, just to do all the things that I wanted to do. And sometimes when you're in the midst of doing that, you have to revert back. Go back, start over, and go back to the plan that God had for you initially. And in that process, it sometimes can be very traumatic. It sometimes can be very embarrassing. I feel like it can cause you to go into shame sometimes. I feel like it's embarrassing because people start to know your business sometimes. And that is the reason why I said that it is important to know that it takes courage to start over, because God knew that we would make mistakes. He knew that we would go off sometimes. He knew that we wouldn't be perfect, right? And so sometimes it takes for a readjust, a reshift, a realignment. And that takes courage. And sometimes we stay in the places that we know are wrong because we don't want to go through the process of getting back on the right track. I was driving in the car the other day, and I was driving and I was on the phone. I was talking to my husband. I was driving, whatever. We was laughing. When I tell you we was laughing and joking about something, the GPS literally kept rerouting me because I kept missing the exit that I was supposed to take. And if you know anything about Houston, you know that when you miss one exit, like, it's over. Okay. You're not making it on time. You're not, you're just frustrated, everything. And I kept missing an exit. And I was just like looking at the GPS, and it kept rerouting me, and it kept rerouting me, and it kept rerouting me. And I'm laughing hysterically on the phone with my husband, but getting frustrated. And I pulled over, and I'm just like, okay, I need to get you off the phone, and I need to figure out where I'm doing, and I need to let the person know that I'm coming. And all of these emotions were coming up in my brain. And I looked at the GPS, and by the time I had pulled over and parked my car for a second to readjust, the GPS had already recalculated another route to get me back to where I needed to go. And in that moment, I had a vision of how God does that exact same thing for us. Why is it that every time we get off, every time we mess up, every time we do whatever we're going to do, he always has a readjustment or a replan to get us back on that correct path? Do you know how amazing it is that we have a God that has already pre-programmed all of these specific routes to get us back on the right path, even before we mess up? I'm telling you, that GPS, it was the bomb before we even put the location in that we were trying to go. And so when I was just sitting there and I was like having that vision, I had gotten off the phone with my husband, and I just did an inhale and exhale, because sometimes we can be going nowhere fast. Why am I rushing to go nowhere fast? It's causing me to miss my exit. I'm on the phone. I'm not focused, right? I'm trying to text the person who is waiting on me to let them know that I'm going to be late, all of these different things. And I say that to say that sometimes we have to take a deep breath and know, and be still and know that God is God, and that there is a direction that he can reroute us to. He can reroute anything. He already has a reroute plan before we even mess up. Why? Because he knew us before we were born, which goes back to the last episode, which, plug. I need you guys to go back and listen to that last episode. So with that being said, I wanted to kind of have a discussion about the courage to start over. And this is a collaborative discussion, right? Even though it's just me and the engineer in the studio. But sometimes in the car, and we're driving and we're on our way to our destination, and we keep rerouting, we keep missing it, we keep making mistakes, we keep doing this and that. And we're on the phone, and the person is like, why are you making this? And why you're never on time, and da 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 da. And I'm not saying that happened to me, but picture yourself. Imagine that you're on a route. You know where you're going. You have the address. The address is in. And the person that's on the phone with you just keeps saying, you're never on time. You're never this. You're never that. And I want to tell you today that it is the outside voices that program our mind to feel like that if we start over, or if we are rerouted, that we are never on time, that we are always late, irresponsible, this and that. Now, mind you, all of those things could be true to your situation, but I feel like the reason why there's a journey of figuring out what address I need to put in the GPS. There's a journey of figuring out what how to get in the car, how to put on my seatbelt, where am I going, when am I going, what time. That journey takes time. And so when you get in the car and you're rerouted and you mess up and you make a mistake, that is such a plan of the enemy to make us overthink. And it sets us back, because what happens is we park our car and we say, I'm not going. We start texting everybody and saying, I'm not coming. We just like halt. And God is saying, I have a plan. I have a reroute. I have another adjustment for you. I never run out of adjustments for you. I never run out of plans for you. I never run out. Don't allow those thoughts, those people, those circumstances to make you pull over. There is a reroute. And so that's what I wanted to talk to you about, is the courage to start over. And so I want to bring up a scripture that's like in my brain right now, and I need to find it because the Lord just bring it in my brain. Isaiah 43:14 says, "This is what the Lord says, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. For your sake, I will send an army against Babylon, forcing the Babylonians to flee and those ships they are so proud of. I am the Lord, your Holy One, Israel's Creator and King. I am the Lord who opened a way through the waters, making a dry path through the sea. I called forth the mighty army of Egypt with all its chariots and horses. I drew them beneath the waves, and they drowned, their lives snuffed out like a smoldering candlewick. But forget all that. It is nothing compared to what I am going to do, for I am about to do something new. See, I have already began. Do you not see it? I will make a path through the wilderness. I will create rivers in a dry wasteland." And I think those scriptures are trying to communicate us that there is nothing that God cannot pave for you. There's not a reroute. There's not anything. And let me tell you something. When I talk about having the courage to start over, sometimes starting over means that you have nothing. Nothing. When I say you've got nothing but maybe an idea. You've got nothing but maybe just some little confidence. Maybe you have been through so much, you've lost it all or whatever, and you need to start over and you don't have anything. And God is saying, I can take that dryness and I can make water there. I can take a land that you feel like has no harvest coming, and I can put a harvest there just for you. And so don't allow people to come into your brain and try and tell you that you're this and that. If you need to start over, start over. So you might be thinking in your brain, okay, like, how do I know that I need to start over? I believe that those things come to us. There are signs that a season, a job, a relationship isn't serving you. There are signs that God will give that you know you're not on the right path. And sometimes we know we're not on the right path, but we be trying to do it anyway. Like there's plenty of things in my life that I've done that like I tried to force it anyway, because like what I'm not going to be is like a liar to all the people that saw that I was supposed to be doing something. Or one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to post something on social media and then be a liar. Or I'm not going to let them talk about me. So I'm going to continue in doing what I know the Lord never really told me to do, because I don't want to look like that I'm all over the place. Moving forward, let's talk about overcoming some of the fears of starting over. Let me tell you some of the things that you might encounter when you have to readjust and go back and kind of like start stepping again. The fear of failure, rejection, the unknown are like three of the major things that keeps us stuck. Fear of failure, rejection, and the unknown. When I tell you those things are paramount, okay? If you want to start over, the first 3 things that the enemy is going to try to do is to put in your mind, oh, okay, like I can't do this because I'm going to fail again. Or somebody is going to think I'm a failure. Or I'm going to look this certain way. Or I'm going to show up like this. The second thing he's going to do is put that rejection. Oh, well, I tried to do it before and it didn't work out. I tried to get money in this area and I didn't get the money the last time. Or I had a plan and I quit the last time. And so I don't want to deal with that rejection. The unknown is the third thing. He always tries to make us feel like because that there's a piece that we don't know, that it's going to fail. And I'm here to tell you that in the process of trusting God in faith, there's going to be a lot you don't know. When the Lord told me to start this podcast, I didn't have a place to shoot. I didn't have an idea of what I was going to talk about at first. All I had was be the light and empowered to glow. And I knew that those 2 things were what drew me out of darkness. And so I knew that was what the podcast was going to be about, but I didn't know everything. I didn't even know how I was going to get the money to pay for it because it is a lot of money to start a podcast. And so those 3 things, failure, rejection, unknown, get them out of your brain. The enemy is going to try to do that. And if the Lord has impressioned upon your heart that you need to take a few steps back and realign with what he is telling you to do and the goal and the destination that he is trying to get you to, then none of these things matter. They're not a factor. The second thing, setting your mindset to look at the start over as an opportunity and not a setback. So let me tell you something. I have been in operation of my business for almost 8 years. In July, will make 8 years. I had 6 years of making it a side hustle. No, 7 years of making it a side hustle. And this is the first year that I've been full-time. And when I tell you, like, I've started so many businesses before. And I got to put my phone down for this. I've had a lip gloss company. I've had makeup company, t-shirts. I had a blog before. The business that I'm currently operating right now started off as a resume and job business. And after so long of doing that, I saw a shift in who I was, who my clientele was, and my understanding, my knowledge. I started going to classes. I started learning more. In my business, the frameworks of my company shifted, and we've been doing business. The Glow Agency has been a business development company for a year now. And a lot of times when you start things and you don't finish them and you have to start over and you have to do, sometimes it looks like a setback and it looks like, oh, I've been doing this multiple times, but no, it's an opportunity. Do you know how much knowledge that I have about business just because I've had to do it so many times? I can whip together a LLC. I can whip together an incorporation, a 501c3. I can whip all that together just because I've made so many mistakes. And I think that there is real value in making mistakes. I think that actually I'm laughing and I'm smiling about it because making mistakes is a beautiful thing. And I want to say that another thing that is important, and while I'm going over this, is making sure that your mindset is like, okay, boom, this is an opportunity for growth. This is not a setback. An opportunity for growth in the business world could be, okay, I've started 4 businesses before and they never got off the ground. What's wrong? What's the problem? The problem might be that I don't trust myself. The problem might be that I don't trust God. The problem might be that I didn't wait around for the plan from God for long enough. The problem might be that I didn't plan enough before I got started. These are all questions that I would have never considered if I wouldn't have failed. Another thing that you have to overcome with the fear of starting over is that you might not be able to start over with the same people in your space, in your corner. That was a huge one for me because I love loyalty. I love my people. I want to be with my people forever. I want to have the same people. You know what I'm saying? I want to use the same companies for this. I want to be loyal and all this. The thing about it is friendships, loyalty, all of that can be a very pivotal downfall when you are trying to make yourself new, when you are trying to get yourself back on the right path, when you're trying to do all the things. A little side note is I used to be a very social drinker. I used to have a certain category of friends that drank all the time. I mean, I used to have a best friend that would take a drink to go to sleep every night. Now, mind you, I don't judge people who drink, but that is not my category of friendship anymore. I don't become close friends with people who drink anymore because I cannot be close friends with somebody who delights in things that I don't feel are what the calling for my life is. And so if you drink and that is your thing, that's between you and what you do. But I can't consider myself to be a best friend or a close friend with somebody that I feel like does not believe the same that I believe in terms of God and spirituality. I used to love, and what I would get is lemon drop martinis. I used to love those. Don't judge me because I love anything citrus. There was one Cinco de Mayo that we all came together and we was drinking. I don't even remember if it was Patron or Hennessy or I don't know. It was probably both. Let's just be real about it, right? And we was doing it. And I had the worst experience that night from doing things that I never thought I would do, to throwing up, to do, when I tell you that I could have made a movie out of that night. And what I had to realize was when I decided to stop doing those things, and when I decided to pull myself away and go to that and try to get my body more to a pure place, I lost a lot of so-called friends. One thing that I will say is when you decide to make yourself better, everybody can't go. Everybody is not in the position, and it's no knock, right? I still love them. I still, kiss and reply on their stories when they post, whatever. But if you're going to another level in God, especially, He is going to give you people to support that level. You don't have to feel like that you have to string somebody along. No, I'm going to put you in the place where you can be. But for me to go to this next level, I have to level up, and some people aren't going to be there. So when I tell you that is a fear, especially from somebody, I am the person that have had real rejection issues, real abandonment issues, friendships, relationships. And so the thought process of losing a friend, the thought process of losing support, losing a confidant, those things give me anxiety sometimes, even today. So when I wrote down, when the Lord gave me, in order to have the courage to start over, you have to overcome the fear of not being around the same people you were before. That thing burnt me up inside. I was like, oh, okay, and it is so true for you and for me that everyone can't go. The last thing in overcoming the fear of starting over is when you start over, it might not look like what you think. I want you to know that I'm going to say this in the best possible way, but sometimes starting over has an extreme building process, and you have to be okay with the building. You have to be okay with the learning. You have to be okay with the growing. You have to be okay with God putting you around people that are going to check you. God putting you around situations where you might not have the money to go and do all the things you want to do in this season, but he has given you the money to sustain and do what you want to do and do what you need to do, fulfill your duties and fulfill your necessities. But I think sometimes when we feel like we're going to start over, we get this like, oh, I'm getting a fresh start. I'm going to be new. Everything is going to be great from here. And everything is going to be great from here for the making, but it might not feel great. You might not feel like you're being new. You might not feel like you're growing. And the problem with that is that's another thing that the enemy will try to use to get you stuck. No, a plan of God could very well be that you live off of just as much money as you need for that month, for a certain amount of months, until you learn the principle of managing your money. Starting over might be that you have to relinquish some things like a car or a business or whatever because it wasn't what God wanted you to have in the first place. Starting over might be that you have to rebuild your confidence in your self-worth, and you have to get a mentor or a discipleship mentor that can help you build yourself, and they're going to tell you about yourself. Starting over doesn't always look like roses and peaches, right? So those are the 4 things that I want to say that are extreme in starting over so that you can overcome those things. I wanted to give you like 4 main beauties that is going to happen for you if you start over and if that's what you need. Then we're going to get out of here. So starting over means that you have the potential to heal from your past. You can let go of regret, shame, and self-doubt. That's what God can give you if you decide to take that step. The next thing, starting over can give you clarity of your vision. You can identify what you want this new season to look like. Like starting over gives you clarity. Like if that's what God has you to do, it's because he's calling you to greater vision. Starting over gives you the opportunity to take small steps, intentional steps, moving forward without being overwhelmed. And that is so me. When God gave me that, I'm like, that is so me. Because a lot of times, because I'm a creative, I want to do stuff so fast. So when I'm starting over, it's because God is showing me, like, I still called you to be an entrepreneur. I still called you to do all these things, but I need you to take more intentional steps. I need your steps to be a little shorter. Starting over can give you the opportunity to embrace discomfort. This is huge. Do you know how many times as Christians and believers that there's discomfort that comes up just because of who we are called to be? And God is trying to show me, and God is trying to show you of like, you're going to be uncomfortable a lot of the time, but I still need you to remember what I'm doing. And I need you to remember what I said. And so when you start over and you give yourself a fresh start and you say, God, I'm back on this right path with you, you're going to start to learn how to embrace discomfort because it's a part of your making. Discomfort is a part of our making. Yes, it don't feel good. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be here. Yes, but it is a part of our making. And the last thing is we embrace God's power of reinvention. God can change your name like never before. You might have been looked at as a person who was divorced. You might have been looked at as somebody that was sleeping around. You might have been looked at as somebody who was this or that. You might have been looked at as somebody who had 17 businesses and wasn't doing well in any of them. You might have been looked at as a hairstylist, and now God is bringing you into being a realtor, all those things. But guess what? God has a mighty power of reinvention. He can give you a new look. He can give you a new name. Getting back on that journey of where he has called you to be puts you at the truest and most authentic version of who he has called you to be. And that is the master power of reinvention. And so what I'm trying to communicate with you all today is that it's never too late to reset and walk in your purpose. It is amazing to see new beginnings as opportunities, not failures. It is pivotal that you take one bold step towards a fresh start this week. It is pivotal that you commit yourself to prayer on this journey. And so I want to just encourage you with the last 30 seconds that we have today. I want to encourage you that the people who might have something to say about you getting back on God's plan and starting over might need to do it themselves. I want to encourage you that God is going to provide every need that you have because he's not a liar, and it says it in his word. And so it might look like that you might have to give up some things, but it's only because you're making room for new things. It's not because you're going to go without. I want to encourage you that what you're seeing in your eyes around you is not reality, right? Before things hit the natural realm, they were first spiritual. So there could very well be some things happening spiritually that you don't see in the natural yet. And so if you are somebody that has $5 in your bank account right now, keep standing on what you are doing, because it very well may be that something is about to shift and you just don't see it yet. Even if you have $5, if you have $1, steward that and expect God to do more. I want to encourage you in this Empowerment to Glow series of It Starts With Us, that it starts with you. Don't expect everybody to be on board with you this quick. Don't expect everybody to be on board with everything you're doing. He never promised us that. He never promised us that everybody would patty cake us. He never promised us that nobody would have something to say. He never promised us that we wouldn't be gossiped about. He promised us that he would make ways in the desert. He promised us that he would supply all of our needs. He promised us that we would make it to the end of all the things that he destined for our life. And so this week, if God is impressioning you to get back on a journey with him, first repent, because somewhere in your communication with God, and I do this every day, somewhere in our communication with God, there was a communication failure where what we were deciding to do wasn't lining up with what he wanted us to do, or with what he was telling us. We weren't receiving that due to all of the other things in this world that we could have our minds caught up in. So we first have to repent. I do it daily because sometimes I don't know what I did. I don't remember. So I just go ahead and do it daily just in case. And then I encourage you to say, God, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I trust you, and I'm ready for you to realign me back. And the last thing is, I want to encourage you that he is a divine rerouter. There's nothing that you're currently in right now that he can't maneuver you through. There's nothing about your life that is unfixable, that is unbuildable. He can build anything. He can take this water and turn it into wine. He can rebuild anything. He can do anything. So stand firm in that. And please subscribe to Empowered to Glow. Please subscribe on Apple Music, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, everything. Subscribe to the YouTube. We are here every Tuesday, 7 p.m. CST, 8 p.m. EST. And I'm excited to glow with you all. And I can't wait for next week's episode on It Starts With Us. Bye.
I'm not for sale.